Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 55 of Buds and Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Riley McConnell. And Riley, I hope you brought your broom ready today because for the fifth time this year, the Blue Jays march down into a series, and we get a sweep, baby. How about that?
We head over to PNC Park to meet the very much struggling Pittsburgh Pirates organization, and we do what you would think the Blue Jays would do. And finally, we get the results, man, that we were hoping for. We go into these series against weaker teams we know we can shut the door on. And Jesse, man, we did it. We got a sweep.
Yes, sir.
We got a sweep against the team that we definitely should have swept, and we did sweep them, man. And it's easy enough to say that our pitching was much better in this series, and that we got a lot to talk about, a lot to look forward in this episode, man.
Yeah, as I said, we do have a lot to talk about. We'll recap the sweep that we had here against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We got our thumbs up, thumbs down. We got lots of individual player performances to talk about and what this might mean going forward for this Toronto Blue Jays team. And then we got to preview, Riley, what might be the biggest series of the season so far. So lots to get to, Riley. You ready to go?
Let's rock this, Jesse. Let's go.
Perfect. All right. Game recaps. Game one, the Jays won this game 4-0. The Jays got their 8th shutout of the season and the 4th in a game where Alec Manoa started. Jays scored 2 in the 4th off a Santiago Espinal double and then added insurance from a 2-run home run by Mr. Bo Bichette. Alec Manoa, Adam Cimber, and Tim Meza were all the pitchers the Blue Jays need to combine for the shutout. Good stuff there. Game 2. Jays win this game 4-1. The Jays ran a 1-1 tie until the top of the 7th when Bo Bichette hit a bases-clearing 3 RBI double after an 11-pitch at-bat. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. That was epic stuff from Bo Bichette there. The Jays used 7 relievers in what was a bullpen day to limit the Pirates to 1 run. Cimber, Bass, and Meza all get credited with holds, and Jordan Romano got save number 29 on the season. And the game that just finished up probably about an hour ago here, the Jays won this game 4-3 over the Pirates. Jays got out to a 3-0 lead, but then the Pirates fought back to tie it at 3. Jays got a go-ahead RBI single by Teoscar Hernandez with 2 out in the 7th. Stripling battled a few walks, but was solid over his 6 innings. Phelps and Bass shut the door out of the pen, and Jordan Romano again with another save, getting his 30th of the year. So, Riley, after the sweep, the Jays sit at 73-59. We're still 3rd in the AL East. We're 5.5 games back of the Yankees, but they're 2 outs away from winning here, make that 6 games. The Jays are still in the final wildcard position. We're at 1.5 behind both the Rays and the Mariners, with the Rays currently losing, and the Mariners currently winning. And the Jays are 2 games up on Baltimore with a big series against them coming up. So how are we feeling, Riley? We feeling good? Feeling nervous?
Feeling awesome, man, with the pitching we got in this. And I'll tell you, I was a little bit skeptical of what we'll call the bullpen game. I'm not a big fan of using openers. I think it's silly, a little backwards. I like my starters to get starts and go 6-7 innings if they can. But you know what, Jesse? It worked out for us, and I'm super happy. Mr. Alec Manoa was dynamite. Stripling was dynamite, man. Our pitching was just great. When you go into a series and only give up 4 runs in 3 games, or that's something to be very proud of, man.
I mean, Pittsburgh's offense is quite bad. They're worse than the National League, but you can only play who's on your schedule, right? And the Jays took advantage of a team they should have on paper and did beat and play well. Riley, lots of good player performances to talk about in this series. Did you want to start with one of the pitchers, or should we talk about the flow himself, Bo Bichette?
Oh, man, we're going to talk about the guy who was a big contributor in this series. That's Mr. Bo Bichette, man. He put the paddles down. He's finally alive, it seems like. It's been a while since we've seen this kind of performance from Bo Bichette, especially in consecutive games. Bo Bichette has had these spurts. He seems streaky up to points this year, but finally, he took the whole Jays team on his back, aside from the good pitching we got. But the 11 pitch at bat where he hit it a double down the left field line. That's good stuff, man. He battled an at bat, and Bo Bichette is not a guy who sees 11 pitches in an at bat.
No, never.
Often.
Very rare.
It's stuff you'll love to see, man. Another dong on the year for him, still lower in the power numbers, but you know what? Anytime he can come through for us is a big thing, man. It's Bo Bichette. He's the shortstop, the legacy Bo Bichette, as they say in MLB The Show. Well, he's starting to look a little bit more like a legacy. Still a long way to go for this series, though. Definitely gets the thumbs up, man, from the offensive point of view.
Do we dare say, Riley, that Bo Bichette is back? Is he here? He went 6 for 12 in this series, including that home run like you talked about, and he had 2 doubles, and honestly, he should have had another double. The Pirates left fielder, I think it was Jake Swinski, made a diving catch on the gap on Bo Bichette. And Riley, 2 major takeaways I want to take away that give me hope that a Bo Bichette breakout is coming. You talked about the 11 pitch at bat where he pulled the double down the line. It was on a fastball. How many times have we talked about how Bo Bichette isn't pulling the baseball? He had, in game 1 of this series, he pulled 3 balls, all for base hits. He hadn't done that all year. So this is the thing that Bo Bichette is now kind of, whether it's a solid approach he's made or whether he's changed his game, but he's actually pulling the baseball now, which will allow him to go with his all-fields approach, be a much more complete hitter. Another thing, though, Bo Bichette, he struck out in game 3 of this series, but before then, he had not had a strikeout since game 2 in the Angels series, a span of over 27 plus at-bats without a strikeout, which was the longest in Bo Bichette's career. So Bo Bichette, he's always had the great hand-eye coordination, and he's always been good at finding barrel on the ball when he does hit it. But if he is now not swinging at those pitches out of the zone and is pulling the baseball in his swing, I'd say look out, man. Bo Bichette could be back, and when he's on, he's one of the best shortstops in the game.
Well, yeah, dude, he's an absolutely like one of the most dangerous hitters, and there's a lot of untapped potential in there, Jesse. His hand-eye, his bat-to-ball skills is great. Even when he's not barreling up, we've seen Bo Bichette hit a lot of right field dropper, flare balls, so be it. And yeah, it's nice to see a more complete Bo Bichette, we'll say, because a lot, like we said, 11 pitches in that bat. That's not something you see from Bo Bichette's game. This kind of tells me that, yeah, there's tinkering in his tools. I mean, he's definitely developing. He might be, almost halfway done his developing as far as what his approach is going to be at the plate. We know he wants to go up there and mash baseballs. He did that in this series. He did that in this series, and we know he can do that. But we'll call it a more subtle approach at the plate, and it seems to be working for him, man.
This was the type of thing we wanted to see from Bo Bichette all season. He still has those little bloops, those flares, those burners, but when he's getting a pitch to hit, he's driving it now. And God, we've waited months for this. I think a lot of Blue Jays fans forget too, Bo Bichette's still 24 years old. He's still under team control for a long time. He's still not making a ton of money. He is still incredibly valuable. And if this is what a bad year for Bo Bichette looks like, I think we're going to be just fine. I expect better things from Bo going forward, and he's a very important part for this team going into the playoffs and down the stretch here.
Yeah, sign me up for a long Bo Bichette tender, man. I know things are going to get better. Yes, if you call this a down year, which you know what, Jesse, it is a down year. When we look at his baseball reference 4 years from now, we're going to see a lot of different statistics come 2023, 2024, and so on, right? I think the COVID shortened season really screwed things up a little bit for players and players development. But now we're in September, Jesse. Bo Bichette's looking just fine, especially against a team we don't see a lot. Strong or weak, doesn't matter. We got the sweep, and a lot had to do with Mr. Bo Bichette and how he was at the plate in this series.
We'll see how he performs in this next series against Baltimore, but if he performs like this, Riley, we're going to be just fine. I want to talk about a starting pitching performance. We talked about a little bit, Alec Manoa, and just like in every series sweep that your team's going to get, setting the tone in game 1 is always very important, and Alec Manoa did just that here. 7 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and using the Fangraphs game score metric, which I've used a handful of times on this episode before, it was Alec Manoa's 3rd best start of the season, and he's had a lot of really good starts this season. And it was good to see Alec Manoa have a bounce back start, because if you look at his month-by-month splits, his numbers have slowly been rising every single month. And in August, it was about a mid-3s ERA, but it was good to see him start the month of September with a dominant start like this. So we know it's there for Alec Manoa. And if he has a big month of September, it'll go very well, because he's going to be a very important piece if the Blue Jays are going to make any run in the playoffs.
When you said that sometimes we forget that that this will be Alec Manoa's first full major league season.
Correct. Yes.
That's wild to think about. Alec Manoa is years beyond, what he is. He is an incredible starting pitcher. He has great poise. He has amazing stuff. I mean, when you overlay his fastball slider, he can just destroy right-handed pitchers. He might be one of the best righty versus righty pitchers in the league. Absolutely annihilated them, man. And yes, I get it. But when you say, and if you tell me that a bad Manoa stretch is a 3.5, a 3.6 ERA, sign me up for that too, man, because those are still quality numbers in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, and you know what, Jesse? He wasn't getting the run support for some of those games. But if you pitch shutout ball over 7 innings, if you don't get the win, there's a lot to be disappointed that Manoa walks out with the win. And here we are again. Talk about Alec Manoa. We knew this was going to happen at the start of the year, Jesse. I wish he had more wins to show for it, but wins are whatever. We know how good Alec Manoa is. I think the guy's going to finish the top 5 for Cy Young voting this year. And like I said, it's a sophomore year.
Yeah, he's up to 163 innings pitched on the season now, which last year, if you combined his major league and AA numbers, he was at about 130-ish. So he's already set a new career high in innings pitched, and he is up to 13 wins. You got to imagine he'll get 2 or 3 more starts to get up to 15, which is a respectable number for Mr. Alec Manoa. And my favorite stat, 3.5 WAR. He can probably get that up to 4 by the season end. And one pitcher getting you 4 wins. Good stuff from Mr. Alec Manoa.
It's been nothing but great stuff, man.
Riley, you wanted to talk about the pitcher that got the start in the finale here, Mr. Ross Stripling. Tell me about him.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not the guy to always talk about pitching, but I can tell when a pitcher is doing good and when a pitcher is doing bad. And Ross Stripling's numbers today, just to look at that on a line or on a piece of paper, you go, well, 3 earned runs over 6 innings. It's nothing great. That's a 4.5 ERA. But Ross Stripling does a lot of things right. He seems to get a lot of hitters off balance. He misses a ton of barrels. And I think it's just time to show Ross Stripling some love. My expectations for him going into this year were very low. I think I've made that clear on this podcast.
Yes.
But Ross Stripling might be one of the biggest X factors this team has. We got the sweep. He started game 3, a very important game 3. Can we walk out of Pittsburgh with the sweep? Who do we got on the hill? Ross Stripling. If you were to tell me this back in February, I really wouldn't have a lot of faith in that, Jesse. I would say, why is Ross Stripling starting, important games or games at all? But honest to God, man, surprising the heck out of me, surprising the heck out of a lot of people. And he's just a good pitcher. He hits his spots. He's a workman. He's not, as you say, he's not overly going to be sexy out there, we'll say, but he's a worker. He misses the barrel. He gets hitters off speed, man. I mean, and today, I don't know the exact strikeouts. He was over a strikeout inning, I think 8, maybe, over 6 innings. So, I mean, what more can you want? I mean, yeah, the 3 earned runs, whatever, 4.5 ERA doesn't look great. But Ross Stripling went out there and rocked it, man. It was a couple little bad innings, a couple hiccups, but Stripling rocked it, man. We got the sweep because of him.
I know I've made this comp on our show before, but I'm going to say it here again. Ross Stripling down the stretch here this year reminds me so much of what Marco Estrada was in those 2015 and 2016 seasons. A guy whose stuff generally doesn't blow it by you, but he can get enough on the fastball with good spin that he can induce a lot of pop-ups. And the changeup. The changeup is his best pitch, Riley. You mentioned the 8 strikeouts he had in the game today. He had 16 swinging strikes. 13 of them came on the changeup today. And the thing I like the most is he realized that the changeup is my best pitch. He threw it 45% of the time. And, if you have this weapon that is so good, like Ross Stripling's changeup, going out and leading with that pitch is just going to be good. Throw your better pitches more often and you'll have better results. I do think Ross Stripling is going to start a playoff game for this team when we get there. And not only has he been good at suppressing hits, he's been one of the best in the league at not drawing walks. In fact, his walk rate is 4%, which is tied with teammate Kevin Gausman and good for 3rd best in the American League. So he's rarely allowing hits. He's rarely allowing walks. I don't know about you, but the job of pitching is to supplement base runners, and Ross Stripling has been doing just that this season.
You want to not allow runners on base. You got a guy who walks guys 4% of the time, and I don't even care. Strikeouts were a little bit high today. We know we're not going to see a lot of strikeouts from Ross Stripling, but yeah, 13 swing and miss on the changeup, man. There's 9 innings in a baseball game. He pitched 6. So that's basically just over 2 swings and misses on one certain pitch. And it's almost like they might know what you're going to throw, but his location has been awesome. I know he's not going to blow you away with the fastball, but he's certainly the way he's upset a lot of hitters' timing, man. And it shows when you watch the games, it shows. He doesn't throw 99. He doesn't have big spin and loop and pitches. It's more or less the control aspect, the spin rate on the pitches. He just misses the meat part of the bat, and he gets outs that way.
Tampa Bay just lost the Yankees 2-1. It was on a 3-2 pitch with the bases loaded for Tampa Bay that was well below the zone, but just called strike 3. So I don't know if we're rooting for the Rays or the Yankees here, but the Rays drop another game, so the Jays are now just one game back behind Tampa Bay. So quick little update there. But Riley, moving on to some thumbs down here. I don't have a lot. The Jays swept. They played really well, but I did want to take this time. I wanted to talk about Whit Merrifield and how he's looked since the trade coming over to joining the Blue Jays. And since we got him, he's only hitting 208 with only one extra base hit, which you'll remember was that home run that he hit in Yankee Stadium that bounced twice off the top of the wall before going over. In fact, he has more strikeouts than he has hits since joining the Toronto Blue Jays. He's been decent off the bench. I can understand why the Jays like his positional versatility. We called it George Springer insurance when we first got him over here because he could play center field. But Riley, I do really think the time of Whit Merrifield being an impact bat is over. Now, that might be a little unfair as we haven't given him a long leash and maybe it's just, new team. He's got jitters. He's been in Kansas City a long time. Maybe he's just nervous or whatever it is. But I'm starting to have this feeling that we might look back at this trade and regret it, especially if Max Castillo, who I know I really love, turns into anything decent as a pitcher.
Well, Jesse, to take out an insurance policy on George Springer, you're going to have to pay somewhat of a price. George Springer's a premium player. And if you were to tell me 4 years ago that Whit Merrifield was the insurance for George Springer, I would have laughed in your face. But there's a reason that Whit Merrifield is not an everyday player anymore. And yeah, for a guy who, at one point was always in the top 5 for hits, it seemed, especially, he was carrying a bad team. He wasn't on that Kansas City team that won a lot. Right. He was kind of the next bringing the turnovers. So heavy. Yeah, he had a good 4 years. And I think his time as a major leaguer, especially like being an all-star and everything like that, is done. You can tell that he's not playing every day for a reason, Jesse. And yeah, I'm not going to sink too much into it. If Max Castillo goes out and ends up winning 10 games next year, I still think we lost the trade. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot on Merrifield. He's not going to be here a long time. He's a veteran player who's quickly declining. And yeah, I never expected extra base hits, but I did expect some hits and maybe less strikeouts. I think that's the big one, Jesse, is that more strikeouts than hits. It's kind of unacceptable for, a lot of players. And Whit Merrifield, I wouldn't expect that from him, but now watching him in the Blue Jays uniform, you kind of do expect it.
Yeah, I'm getting big Melvin Upton Jr. vibes as from Whit Merrifield here. One of those guys that the Blue Jays acquired at the trade deadline that we have high hopes for, but then doesn't really put it together. But he did have a few big hits in the playoffs for us, so maybe Whit Merrifield can do that as well. And Riley, quick, another just note I had. When the schedule rolled down to September, the Blue Jays called up Casey Lawrence instead of guys like Zach Pop and Julian Merriweather or another catcher. And our thoughts was, it's because he's going to be in the bullpen day. He's going to pitch then. He's going to get a time. And he didn't. He didn't pitch at all in this series in Pittsburgh. Now, not having another one of those bullpen arms didn't seem to hurt the Blue Jays. And hindsight is always 20/20. So maybe Casey Lawrence gets into one of these games in the doubleheader against Baltimore here. But yeah, I'm still kind of dazzled why they called him up and not one of these relievers when they could have called up a reliever and then just brought Casey Lawrence up for the doubleheader. Anyway, any quick thoughts on that there?
Yeah, I mean, he's still got options. You can send him up and down. It's September. You're going to see a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least one more move made for calling a guy up and sending a guy down. Casey Lawrence is a guy who I don't see in any leverage situations, especially right now. And if you were going to use him, Jesse, I agree. I would have used him against Pittsburgh, would have saved some of my, higher leverage guys because, we're going to need our top arms to be pitching against the Orioles. And if Casey Lawrence goes in the 7th inning and it's a 2-2 tie and he bombs, I mean, we know where it went wrong. He should have been used in this series, Jesse. Absolutely. It's kind of a waste. Why do you call him up if you're not going to use him? So if they do use him in this Baltimore series, it's going to be a tough no matter the score. I think it's going to be tough on him. I would have rather built his confidence up and used him in PNC Park for this series rather than go to Camden Yards and, potentially get hit around by a hot Baltimore team.
Let's hope it doesn't come back to burn us here, but I did want to move on and I wanted to talk about some other impact performances that we saw in this series against Pittsburgh, including Jordan Romano, who got saves number 29 and number 30 on the season. He becomes the 12th Blue Jay in franchise history to record 30 saves. In one game, in game 3 was his best one. Now he got into a jam, 2nd and 3rd with nobody out, and then he went strikeout, strikeout, strikeout to seal the deal and get the save. And Fangraphs has the stat called plus wins wins probability added, which basically means how much your individual performance has led to your teams getting a win. And Jordan Romano is the number one reliever in all of baseball in that stat. Now, he doesn't qualify complete in total wins probability added because he has had a few blowups early in the year. I remember one against Houston and he had another one, but there is no way this team would be anywhere close to the playoffs if it wasn't for the performance that Jordan Romano is having and what he is doing for this team. I give him a gold star, Mr. Jordan Romano.
He's got a gold star for me this year. I mean, you said it right there with the 30 saves. That's a number that should jump right off the page. It's not an incredible amount of saves, but the games that he is qualified for a save in, he has certainly shut the door. Yes, of course, you're going to have blown saves. I mean, even the best blue games, right? That's how baseball works. But Jordan Romano and his craft and what he does, when you tell me he struck out 3 guys in a row, I believe you, and I can almost close my eyes and picture it in my head where those fastballs are going and missing bats, guys swinging behind him on the fastball. He's a thing of beauty to watch out there, man. I think that he's gonna, be in contention for Delivery Man of the Year, whether he gets that award or not, whatever. But Romano should be feeling great about himself, man, for this year's performance.
His quote after the game in Game 3, because he talked about getting runners on, he says, not every appearance has to be a beauty pageant. The point is we got the job done, and he sure did for Jordan Romano. Another reliever who I was enticed with is Jimmy Garcia, and now he's been great all year. We've talked about him a lot, and I really like how John Schneider wasn't afraid to bring him in the 5th inning in Game 2 in what was still a 1-1 tie when Yusei Kikuchi had left a few runners on. He faced 4 batters and got 5 outs. He got a double play in there as well. Got credited with the win, so good piece of bullpen management, I think, by John Schneider, and also Jimmy Garcia for the guy who's doing it, getting the job done. Quick little thumbs up there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Since we got guys like Zach Pop, who isn't even in our bullpen seems to be doing better. Maybe just certain names are helping guys out and doing a little bit better like that. Maybe Casey Lawrence will jump on that train, Jesse. Who knows?
Who knows? Another quick note, Kevin Biggio hit his 5th home run on the season in this series. He's now tied with Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and if I said that coming into the season, I think that would have shocked you. And I like how he hit it on a high fastball up in the zone. Like, the book on Kevin Biggio is to pound him up with those high fastballs because he's got that big loopy uppercut swing, so he really struggles with those. But I think if he can prove that he can hit those pitches, it's a good sign. And I know we give Biggio a lot of hate. He's not the guy we thought he could be after his rookie season, but he still has a 107 WRC plus on the season. He's an above average player, and it's good to see that he can combine this good defense with good power, and he's still drawing his walks. So let's not crap the bed on Kevin Biggio yet. He's still a valuable member for this team.
And his position versatility is something that the Blue Jays scream. We love guys who can play infield and outfield. It's always important, man. I really don't mind Biggio. And when I saw the notification come up that Biggio had hit a home run, I was very excited, very happy for that personal accolade. Whatever, 5 home runs, that's nothing. That's what catchers in the 60s used to hit for home runs. But he just went out there and crushed a high fastball, not even really in the zone. And yeah, not a big fan of his big loopy swing, but yes, still drawing his walks at least. So whatever works for Biggio. I was going to say if it ain't broken, don't fix it, but there is still a lot of fine tuning left in number 8's game. And you know what? If Whit Merrifield's not going to be the guy some days and Kevin Biggio is, well, then it's going to be Kevin Biggio and we're going to love it.
Yeah, and with him and Espinal too. Espinal had a big hit in this series. I think we're going to be just fine. But Riley, we've got a little Buds and Blue Jays special right here because the next 2 players we're going to talk about are some of our favorites. You got Matt Chapman. I got Yusei Kikuchi. Do you want to talk about Matt Chapman in this series? He was drawing a lot of walks. He hit a double. Anything else to add?
I honestly, not much. It's a thing I'm not surprised. Matt Chapman is very underrated, and I'm gonna take this to my grave, man, because I will never say I will always make up an excuse at least for Matt Chapman. Yeah, he's a power hitter. He's gonna strike out, and I thought about this about 2 weeks ago. I thought, this strikeout rate's gonna remain like this, and I thought to myself, I would like to see some more walks, maybe a less aggressive approach to the plate, because he goes up there some at bats and he swings hard, man,
sure
almost too hard sometimes. And sometimes I want to just go through the TV and tell him, listen, Matt, like, I know what you're trying to do. Just because you were leading the Blue Jays in home runs at one point, that's awesome. And you know what? If you do, that's great. But just take a step back a little bit, step out of the box. You don't need to rip it every time. You're a strong dude. You know how to hit the ball.
Yeah,
and yeah, defensively, I mean, I don't know what the numbers say. Let's pretend that the eyeball test is still a thing. He's a Gold Glover. He's a Gold Glover this year. Let's pretend that there's no sabermetrics with the funny stuff, and he's heavily and his power will turn up. I'd like to see 3 more home runs to cap off his season. Let's try and get him to 30. Maybe that's asking too much, but hey, we'll see.
And a quick reminder, since the All-Star break, Matt Chapman is hitting 266, 382, 547, good for a 929 OPS. That'll do, Mr. Matt Chapman.
Sign me up for a 900 OPS, man. That's some good stuff right there.
Now, Riley, what I'm about to tell you about Yusei Kikuchi could not only be big news, but might actually change him. And maybe Yusei Kikuchi's back. Now, no, I might be a little dramatic here, but he hadn't pitched in about a week. And in game 2, he got into the series. He pitched 2 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 Ks, and 6 swings and misses. But Riley, the big thing I took away here from what Yusei Kikuchi did in Pittsburgh is that his spin rates on all 4 of his pitches were up dramatically. And Riley, maybe it's nothing. Or maybe it's everything. But last year in Seattle, when Yusei Kikuchi's performance really dipped in Seattle, it was right around the time Major League Baseball came out with the sticky substance ban, and they were checking all these pitchers and stuff. Now, I'm not saying Yusei Kikuchi was using spider tack like everyone else, but his numbers also declined dramatically once his spin rates went down. And in this appearance against Pittsburgh, they went back up. So if Yusei Kikuchi is finding a way to grip the baseball better, and if it helps at all for him to be able to throw more strikes and be more consistent, look out, because the stuff is still nasty. And if he can pound that zone, we've got a guy in Yusei Kikuchi. I mean, could be nothing, but keep an eye on that.
I think it's something. I mean, if you told me that this whole year he just forgot to grip a baseball because they took away the sticky stuff, I'm sure he was getting better spin like that in Seattle. Who cares? I don't care. It's part of the game. Baseball is a game that has had its traditions. They threw spitballs and scuffballs, you know, and way back there. I don't care. Find a way to grip the ball, because you can't use the foreign substances. I still think it's a little bit silly. I mean, we're at a time now where we have a potential 60 home run hitter. And if we could knock him down a little bit by having a pitcher go out there with some sticky stuff, I'd love it. But hey, back on Mr. Kikuchi. When he's not giving up walks, that's a good thing. And what has Yusei Kikuchi done this year? Sadly, he's really let runners on base.
Oh, yes.
And it drives me nuts. So when he's able to locate his pitches, and as you say, Jesse, our analytics guy, Jesse Burrell, knows that his spin rate is up. And I'm surprised Yusei isn't underwall. You got Vlad Guerrero Jr., that's fine. Bring Kikuchi back if he's doing a good thing. I don't know. You didn't burn the jersey, probably the best bet, because those things are expensive. But when Yusei Kikuchi is on, it's just another piece, because for so long this year, man, we have struggled to find quality pitchings, quality starts from certain starters, and Kikuchi was one of them. We put him in the bullpen. So this little rehab assignment, we'll call it, you know, this experiment could work. Is he going to start a playoff game for us?
Oh, no.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But
something went wrong if he's starting playoff games for us.
For what it's worth, Jesse, it's still a little bit of light in a dark room when Yusei Kikuchi is locating his pitches better. I'll just say that it's pitch location. He wasn't as wild in this series, and that's a start.
Mm-hmm. Something to build on. Let's see how he goes going forward here. Just one more piece of note. Trevor Richards got the start in game 2, 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 3 strikeouts. And Riley, in fact, over his last 7 appearances, 7 1/3 innings pitched, no earned runs, 13 strikeouts with no walks. With a FIP in the negatives for Trevor Richards. He's not getting DFA'd. He's a major part of this bullpen. Good stuff from Mr. Richards.
Yeah, you just about sent an angry mob after him about 15 episodes ago. I think you wanted to kill the guy because he was doing so bad. But yeah, he brought it, man. And like I said, I definitely don't like the opener in baseball. But you know what? Trevor Richards went out there and, you know, it's relievers now pitching 2 innings is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they used to, you know, go 3 innings if they could. And even starting the game, it's a different change, some different scenery for Mr. Trevor Richards. So, you know what? He made the most of it, man. And the strikeout numbers are up. And usually if you're striking guys out and not giving up the long ball and you have a negative FIP, you're probably in the right side of the categories there, man.
Absolutely. We'll get through our news and notes really quickly here. Santiago Espinal was hit by a pitch on the left ring finger. It looked a lot worse than it actually is. X-rays came back negative. He's day-to-day for now. Ricky Tiedemann's season is officially over. 78 2/3 innings pitched with a 2.17 ERA and 117 strikeouts, Riley, in those 78 innings, which I thought was amazing. And he only allowed 39 hits all year and made it all the way to Double-A as a 19-year-old. Sky's the limit for this kid. And my personal favorite, Riley, Nate Pearson had his rehab assignment start for the Dunedin Blue Jays, only threw 10 pitches, but got 3 swinging strikes, 2 fly ball outs, and a ground ball out in his 1 inning of work, and touched as high as 98.9 miles per hour. So Riley, real quick, any quick takeaways on those 3 points?
Yeah, I really like that. I was kind of laughing at you talk about the Pearson things, but when you tell me his velocity, that's when I start to hear, okay, hey, you know what? If he's on a rehab assignment and he's just about 99 miles an hour, I think that, you know what, we could be looking forward to Nate Pearson. I'm not this year. Won't be this year, Jesse. But yes, this is a guy with a ton of upside. If he can find his location and work his secondary pitches with that lethal fastball, he'll be one hell of a weapon, dude. There's no question about it.
Let's keep an eye on him. He pitches well in the bullpen. There's a chance he could pitch in the playoffs for this team. But Riley, quickly, we're running low on time here, but we're going to Baltimore. We're playing the Orioles. The Jays are 3-6 against Baltimore this year, 7-3, and Baltimore is 7-3 in their last 10 games. The Jays are going to have to play well because a bad series here against Baltimore could suddenly sink their playoff chances, so they don't look good. Game 1, Kevin Gausman against Michael Baumann. Game 2, Jose Barrios versus Jordan Lyles. Game 3 will be Mitch White against Kyle Bradish, and Game 4 will be Alec Manoa against Dean Kramer. Now, there is some rain in the forecast, so you might have some rain delays, a little delays and whatnot, but you got a prediction, Riley. Biggest series of the year so far. How are the Jays going to do?
I think that we'd take 3 out of 4. I think I say that a lot for 3-game series, but these are starting pitchers. The Baltimore, I think they're going to be high-scoring games. These are pitchers that we should light up, man. We're playing in the biggest ballpark in the American League East, which is going to be great because our hitters can out-hit Baltimore's best hitters. I know this for a fact because we see Baltimore. We know that they're hot, but we know, Jesse, without a doubt, in my mind, you say those Michael Bowman and we got, Jordan Lyles. Like, no, man, we're going to get a great start from Gausman, another great start from Manoa. Like Mitch White, I don't know what we're going to see. Maybe that's the game we lose. I don't know, but I'm sensing big things, man. My J senses are just a tingling right now. I think it's going to be a great week for us. Still on our road trip though. But we moved from playing a team we hardly ever see to a team that we're going to see more than any other team to end this season. This is important, man, because we play them at home in a couple weeks or the next weekend. I don't know when we play them next, but I know we play them again after this visiting stand against Baltimore. And I think that we're going to be very successful in both those series. But this one, more importantly, Jesse, I think we take 3 out of 4.
I hope so, man. Ross Stripling was asked about what he's looking forward to in the big series against Baltimore this week, and he said, quote, "Good teams take care of business. We understand that we are the better team, and we're going to take care of business." So he sounds determined, ready to go. I like 3 out of 4, Riley. I want to say we're going to sweep them. I really do, but I just don't think that's going to happen. 3 out of 4. At worst, I think we get the split, but I think the Jays have a good head on their shoulders. I think they play well. But I've been bit by this before, but I'm feeling confident too. Let's go 3 out of 4. Let's leave Baltimore with the series win and cement our spot in the playoff spot.
We're going to need it, man. Like that Baltimore, we know you say 7 wins, 3 losses in their last 10 games. Those are not, numbers to laugh at. This is a team that has literally resurrected itself at middle point of the season, and they are one of the hottest teams in baseball. They're not to be taken lightly, Jesse. They're a team that really does scare me right now, but I think that we should be able to handle them and handle them well with the starting pitching that we're gonna get. I have a really good feeling we're gonna watch Gausman do what Kevin Gausman does, and the rest of our starters and bats will pick up from there, man. And I'm hoping for more power numbers. We saw Bo take off in this series. Well, why not Lourdes? Why not Teoscar? Why not Vladdy? Well, I think we have one of our big bats is going to come along. Maybe it is Bo Bichette again. Who knows? It's going to be an exciting series to watch, and it's going to be an important series to determine the outcome of this season for us, man.
Buckle up, Jays fans, because here we go. It's going to be a big one for sure. That'll do it for our episode here today. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. to the show and leave us a 5-star review on those podcast streaming platforms. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram, as we'll be making content on there all throughout the season and throughout the offseason. Riley, anything else to add quick before we get out of here today?
No, just for the players out there, for the Jays, we just need you to get on base a lot. That's what we're gonna do in this series, and we're gonna crush in Camden Yards. Let's
yes,
go,
sir,
Blue
buddy.
Jays.
Let's
Thank
do it.
you.
Let's go. We'll see you again then on Sunday to recap that series.